Public schools belong to all children, no exceptions. In the case Clark versus Board of Directors, decided nearly a century before Brown versus Board of Education, the court affirmed that equity, belonging, and high expectations are not new ideas in education. They are the foundation of the work we are called to do together. And with that, I'll get started with our meeting today. This is Committee Chair Kalila Slater Harrington. I'd like to welcome you all to the April 14th, 2026 meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee. If you have not already done so, I'm sorry, I just had a technical difficulty. If you have not already done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, please turn your camera off if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is present. Please identify yourself before speaking for the record. Commissioner Chicas Guzman.
Chicas Guzman present.
Welcome. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Commissioner Scott Woodruff. I am present. Members of the public who would like to provide comment to this committee can do so by written or pre-recorded testimony. Please submit your written testimony or your pre-recorded video the day before the committee meeting. Up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide comment to the Teaching and Learning Committee. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes. All public comments should address teaching and learning related issues. Individuals or groups interested in providing comment to the committee may sign up in one of 3 ways, all of which involve contacting the board office. You can email public.comment@bcps.k12.md.us, or you can call the board office at 443-642-4095. Please also use that number to contact the board office with any questions that you have about the procedure. And finally, the chat function during our virtual meetings will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. If you have follow-up questions or feedback you'd like to offer, please contact the board office. I will also acknowledge that Commissioner Scott Woodruff is on and present for the meeting, however, cannot unmute her phone.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. We are working to troubleshoot that as we speak. Thank you.
Fantastic. All righty. We'll go ahead and get started. I think I saw Crystal Francis, and I know that Dr. Swinton Buck is on. We can go ahead and get started with the presentation for today. I'm excited. There she is.
All right, I'm not sure if Dr. Swinton Buck is having technical difficulties as well, but I want to make sure that we are making the best use of our time. There she is.
Fantastic. There she is. All right, great.
Hi, hello. We can, Crystal, are you sharing? Yes, I will. Sorry. And hold on, I have too many screens going on now. Here we go. Great. So I could kick it off. I'm Dr. Swinton Buck, Deputy Chief Academic Officer, and I am excited to introduce our Executive Director, Crystal Francis, as well as her two directors, Dr. Petrie and Dr. Anderson. They will be providing an update on our early learning work, the amazing work that the team has been doing with our Frog Street implementation, our Judy Centers, all of the great things that we're doing in early learning. They will be providing an update, and it will be time for folks to ask questions at the end of their presentation. All right. Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Swinton Buck. I am Crystal Francis, Executive Director of Early Learning, and very excited to chat with our board members today about all of the exciting updates that are happening in the early learning space. So first, I just want to make sure that we are grounding ourselves in our strategic priorities. So for the board, we will be discussing priority 1, which is ensuring that we have high quality and rigorous instruction for our students. And of course, priority 4, which is very near and dear to our heart in early learning, making sure that we are including all of our stakeholders, particularly our families, at the table in everything that we do. So by quick way of introduction, and I'll ask them to just come on screen so that you can see them. In our early learning space, we have new leadership, as I'm sure you all remember. Previously, it used to just be me here speaking to you, but we've got some new members on the team. So we have Dr. Brad Petrie, who is the Director of Preschool Special Education, and Dr. Sherry Anderson, who is our Director of Early Learning. And they will be joining us in a bit to also talk about some of the aspects of their work. So here is what we're going to discuss today. This is our agenda, KRA data. You've already seen this, so we will just kind of quickly review that. We're going to talk a bit about our Frog Street, which is our high quality instructional materials, our curriculum here in city schools, a bit about pre-K enrollment, our Judy Centers, of course, which we love. Spend some time on preschool special education. It is a very kind of hot topic right now in education, and then talk a bit about our plans looking ahead. So we want to make sure that we are grounding our work here. So this is the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, as I think people are familiar with. Pillar 1, which is all about early childhood education. So that has really been an umbrella over our work for the last few years. And that is guiding how we have been moving the work within city schools for our youngest learners. So as many of you know, the KRA, which really is a measure of students' readiness in kindergarten, MSDE provided a new assessment this year. And so this is the, it measures literacy, math, and social emotional learning for our students. And as you will see here, if you look where the stars are, the dark blue, that is how our city schools pre-K students performed. The yellow is how our students in Maryland performed. So we are really excited about the continued great work that is happening for our students. You will see in those other blue areas the prior care. So those are students who did not attend city schools pre-K. So we are really excited to continue to outperform those our other peers, but we really want to make sure that we are getting closer to our peers, if not exceeding them in the state of Maryland. So now I'm going to pass it over to Sherry to talk a bit about our high quality instructional materials.
So Frog Street is in its second year of implementation under the professional learning arc of talk, write, count, and play. Professional learning supports teachers over time. It builds their capacity and ensures high quality instruction across all pre-K classrooms. Year 1, we focused on implementation, while year 2, we are focusing on fidelity checks and coaching. And in year 3, we are going to strengthen our instructional practices all across the pre-K programs in the city. So this slide highlights progress towards pre-K accreditation. Level 5 is the highest level of quality that is issued by Maryland State Department of Education. The majority of our schools have reached accreditation status, with the remaining scheduling for visits from MSDE. During the process, schools receive support through state and district coaching, technical assistance from Early Learning Office, and preparation visits. The mixed delivery system offers families a choice of where to enroll their scholars for pre-K. City Schools offers 400 seats for 4-year-olds, while 500 seats for 3 and 4-year-olds are offered by community programs. Quarterly meetings with all providers help assure alignment and quality instruction throughout all of the programs. This method allows us to maintain high quality standards across the city. So we kicked off our online enrollment at Port Discovery with all city providers and the mayor's office. During the month of March, our Find Your Way to Pre-K initiative was held all over the city. Families came together to explore local resources, connect with city school staff, and learn about early childhood education options and programs. Families also received support with completing online registration if they needed. Our additional partners for enrollment are Fund for Education Excellence, Enoch Pratt Library, B&O Railroad Museum, and the Science Center. With just 2 more days or 3 more days to go, our online enrollment is now 1,830 applications, which exceeds last year's total enrollment, and we still have the few days to go. Our Parent Ed series is designed based upon families' feedback. We offer both virtual and in-person opportunities to receive practical information. Families shared that in-person sessions are most valuable at the school level. So at the district level, we share information on a variety of social media platforms so that families can return to the postings as needed.
All right, so we wanted to talk a bit about our Judy Centers, which we are very proud of here in Baltimore City. So we actually opened 3 new Judy Centers this school year, which brings our total to 17, which is the most of any of the jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. We also were able to bring on a Judy Center expansion coordinator, and that was funding that was provided by Baltimore Community Foundation, who's been a longtime partner and supporter of our Judy Centers. We have expanded an infant and toddler partnership where we actually have infant and toddler teachers support at our Judy Center playgroups to ensure that we are providing as much early intervention as we possibly can. And we have been working with our partners at Burke and Johns Hopkins to complete a study that really just shows the effectiveness of our programs as we continue to learn about them and continue to refine them so that we are providing the best services to our families. So here we have a quote from one of the families, and this came out of the study. So I will not read that to you, but it just continues to highlight the work that the Judy Centers do, the importance, and really for us, this is really what matters, is how are our families receiving it and how do they feel that it's having an impact on their lifelong skills. And then on the right, you will see the data. And this is at the end of school year 24-25. So we don't have the 25-26 data yet, but this was how we ended last year. And that's the number of pre-K and K students that we were able to serve, the number of birth through 3 children we were able to serve, community partners, and our families that were able to meet their goals. So just wanted to share, again, some of the great work and the data from those Judy Centers. And now I will pass it over to Dr. Brad Petrie. You got to unmute yourself, Brad.
Of course. Hello, I am Dr. Brad Petrie, the Director of Early Learning Special Education And the first topic I wanted to share with everyone was the way that we are programming for students with disabilities in the early learning space. We like all of compulsory education, we program based on the level of need in providing students with their free and appropriate public education services and supports across a variety continuum of environments. One of the things that sets early learning apart is that unlike school environments where they kind of plan or strategize for programming internally, we help support them centrally. So we have we've kind of labeled our LRE type environments partners, which is a full inclusion setting, Let's Grow, which is a partial inclusion and partial specialized support setting, and then our ELE and ETE, which is our more restrictive settings to help students with more specific and significant needs. In order to start to address some of our challenges, we have to first define them. So within our organization, we really looked at how we can identify knowledge gaps around special education practices. We have a growing number of students with special needs coming into early learning from a variety of sources. Kids come into kindergarten with special needs or to pre-K classes through our regular pre-K enrollment with special needs and are identified first at the school. But a lot of our children come from being provided services in the infant and toddler, Baltimore infant and toddler space, or they are found by their pediatricians or outside community partners and come through our Child Find source. And so what we wanted to really do is highlight any of those sources of identification of children with needs and that we recommend to students when they get into schools. We are addressing the increased transportation costs associated with enrolling and assigning students that have needs into our program classes throughout the city. Classes that can support students might be at their neighborhood school, but might be a little bit further away. And every time that students have to be transported to school, it incurs costs that are rapidly increasing. And we also have found that there is a bit of system misalignment. The rate of our increase of population of students with special needs is far outpacing programmatic classrooms that we've designed to help support them. So we are looking at more creative ways to try to look at locations, at the spectrum of supports and the type of supports that we can provide in any given location to help try to meet needs in a more thoughtful way and to try to really ensure that students are getting the full opportunities for inclusion that they should be due given their program. So in the theme of having internal conversations to ensure that all of our internal teams are really understanding and recognizing the type of supports that we want to provide to students out into schools, we designed the citywide STAT initiative this year. So representatives from our teams get together to have open communication about kind of hot topics that are occurring in our citywide classrooms, but also like logistics issues and challenges that are happening at our source teams. And we have talked a lot about how to really make the strategies and services that can support children with special needs to be state-of-the-art and to be creative and flexible enough to really try to address this growing rise in population of students with special needs in the 3, 4, and 5-year-old space. And so one of the results is integrating more early learning supports in targeted schools. We're looking at schools that already had 1 or 2 specialized program classrooms. Perhaps it was our more restrictive classes, or perhaps it was our full inclusion programs, and looking at the ways that we can really streamline those programs so that the targeted supports can be formulated to meet more independent or individualized needs and less programmatic needs. So being a little bit more flexible in our approach, being inclusion focused, and offering the full spectrum of environments for support for students, starting when they're 3 years old all the way through 5 years old. We're hoping that by streamlining our supports, we're able to offer those students a lot more opportunity, and we can help staff really start to focus more on inclusive opportunities and making more data-based decisions when it comes to strategizing and programming for individual student needs. So in our areas of future focusing on providing exceptional services and supports to students with disabilities, we are looking at ways we can realign our technical support. We really want to think about our technical support from our office as an inclusive practice, just as we want inclusion to be first and foremost in the minds of our providers at schools. So rather than sending folks out to provide technical support to schools that are specific to special ed or specific to general ed and curriculum, we really want to start to spread some of that technical acumen and professionalism across multiple providers so that we have less silos in the way that we support schools. We are trying to follow the research, and we're trying to follow the district initiatives in reduction of screen time and other technologically supported instruction. We know that children learn best with peer-to-peer interactions, with adult-to-peer and adult-to-student interactions, with face-to-face communication. And a lot of those best practices are hampered by our reliance on screen time in classrooms. So we're going to focus towards how we can support even our really great teachers in reducing their reliance on screen time for like setting the pace and the routines of the schedule, and try to encompass more hands-on activities and communication-focused activities. We're categorizing the intensity of supports that schools are requiring based on how well they are adhering to some of our non-negotiables when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to effective classroom instructional practice for supporting students with special needs. We're making a greater focus on targeted professional learning based on some of the assessment that we're doing class to class, and we're seeing what is really separating like a really exemplary class from a class that's having a lot of challenges, and we're really focusing our targeted professional learning on those gaps. And we are continuing with our citywide stat and other intercollaborative teams to focus on a lot of data indicators that show better outcomes for students, better inclusive outcomes for students, and more effective instruction and classroom supports.
All right. So finally, just to kind of wrap up, we wanted to talk about some of the future focus areas for our team. One of the things that happened, a serendipitous and happy thing that happened this year, was the state actually increased the per pupil amount for our pre-K students. So it was accelerated to FY27. We weren't supposed to see this increase until FY30. And in a year where, as you've heard from our cabinet members, in a year of belt tightening, it was very helpful to get this additional support. As many of you know, City Schools has, kind of always taken on the cost of full day pre-K, even before it was kind of the popular thing to do, which we have always appreciated. But now we really wanted to focus in some of these targeted funds. And so these 4 areas were the areas where we wanted to support our schools, where we wanted to think district-wide about how we could use these funds to really increase the outcomes that we are seeing for our students. As we shared earlier, as you heard from our CEO, really wanting to have a conversation with our families, with our teachers, our principals, our school leaders around reducing the use of technology in pre-K. It is so critical at this developmental age. We are seeing and experiencing this every single day in the Office of Early Learning. And so when our CEO said that that's the move that she wanted to take our system in, we were very happy and ready to also kind of get on board there. So we do not have personalized devices in pre-K. There are devices that are used for assessments for our students, but we really want to ensure that we are, as Brad said, like having those face-to-face interactions, that teachers are modeling things, that students are able to really work through that problem solving and all of that, and they can do that when they are in community with their peers. And then finally, these are just a few of the areas that we're looking into for next year. We will be on year 3 of the implementation of our curriculum. So we want to ensure that we are doing that to the best of our ability, that we are monitoring our classrooms, that we are providing them with the instructional supports that are needed, continuing to refine our practices for our teachers and our educators and our school leaders, really thinking about how we are teaching and approaching early childhood special education, making sure that we are prioritizing inclusive practices for our students, expanding our preschool special ed classrooms to meet the needs of our ever-expanding population, but really want to see if we can be strategic and thoughtful in really trying to start finding some other ways that we can support our students. What does it look like to really get in early, because we know that early intervention matters and is important. Improving school readiness outcomes across our Judy Center network. Now, again, at 17, we're going to take a little bit of a pause and not keep on growing. We're very happy with this number right here, but just continuing to make sure that we are serving our students in the best way, because we see that when our Judy Centers are doing well, that impacts our students. And then continuing to strengthen our Birth Through 3 pipeline. As we have shared, we work with so many of our community partners, infants and toddlers, Head Start. So we're just really excited to have this continued level of coordination between us and our partners within the community as we are all working to serve our early childhood students. And I think that is it. So I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you for such a great presentation. I know that, and pleasure to meet you, Dr. Petrie and Dr. Anderson. I am negotiating some technical difficulties, so if you hear me pause, I apologize. Let's see. Okay, I want to open it up to any of my fellow commissioners for questions. I think Chicas Guzman is saying.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. I just want to say, one, I'm very appreciative of the framing and the approach that you all are taking to this work. And I am my son is in mixed delivery setting currently and receives services at one of our elementary schools. So I am getting very familiar with this, the processes. And so with mixed delivery being such a good bonus for our city, can you talk about like the ways in which the district is leveraging mixed delivery? And then also I know it comes with a number of challenges. So if you can just talk about those and then, and what you're doing and how you're thinking about those challenges. And then in terms of the citywide stat, I understand that to be like internal collaboration. Does that also encompass, or is there another structure for collaboration between community partners?
So I will answer the first question about mixed delivery. So the way in which we, city schools, really want to approach this is we want to serve 4-year-olds in a full day setting, and we really want for our community partners to serve 3-year-olds in a full day setting. This is one of the things that the state kind of put like a policy statement, and they were really interested in LEAs kind of taking the lead on 4-year-olds, tier 1 and all of that. And then the community partners taking the lead on 3-year-olds. I think that that will actually be the best way for our system to really be able to collaborate. We have done lots of data and studies over the last few years with Burke and Hopkins that has shown that the best trajectory for our students is when they are 3 years old going to Head Start, and then when they are 4-year-old going to pre-K. And so knowing that, because again, we're really here for student outcomes, I think that that is the way that we should be moving as we're thinking about mixed delivery. There are some challenges in doing that when it comes to our private providers or community-based providers. Sometimes they cannot really sustain the costs of just serving 3-year-olds. If you think about it, for 4-year-olds, you can serve a little bit more 4-year-olds than you can for 3-year-olds. So sometimes there are some cost challenges that are associated with that. Some of the providers, if they even were to move and shift to just serving 0 to 2-year-olds, you can serve even less of them for the same cost. So there are just some cost challenges that exist there in that model. I think this year, we are moving into a better space of being able to do things collaboratively, where people are able to see. This year, we actually have like one website where we're just trying to like direct families to go to that one place, and then you can kind of figure out how old your child is and see what options serve you best. I would love to be able to keep on building out options like that, because if we do this well, we can serve way more 4-year-olds and way more 3-year-olds if we are working collaboratively. So again, I think sometimes people have to give up a little bit. You may have to give up a couple of 4-year-old seats, you may have to give up a couple of 3-year-old seats, but those are just some of the challenges I see right now that exist in that mixed delivery space. And as far as that citywide stat, right now it is internal because it definitely was, one of those things where before you want to go and start kind of fixing a whole bunch of other stuff, we really had to make sure that we had our own practices set. And we really wanted to make sure that internally that we were all talking, that we were on the same page, because as I'm sure you can imagine, things are popping up in the 0 to 3 space as they pop up for a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. So it was important for us to really get on the same page. But I think part of what we've done and part of what we see in our mixed delivery work in meeting with our pre-K community providers is there are lots of emerging themes that many of us have, that many of us are dealing with. So I think as we can see and identify something within our citywide stat, we have a lot of avenues to be able to talk to our Head Start partners or hear from the mixed delivery partners and see that they are also kind of going through the same thing. But being able to have that quarterly meeting allows us to have a space where we can all come together and figure out, is there a way that we can kind of attack this together, or what have you done that we could do also, or how can we really make sure that we're building this continuum for all of our students?
Okay, thank you so much.
All righty. I think Commissioner Kenyatta, I'm sorry, Commissioner Scott Woodruff, has that completed your questions? You can hear me?
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, did you have questions?
Yes. Hey, how you doing? First of all, I want to state that I appreciate the the amount of work and coordination that this takes. It's a lot of work, and thank you for this great presentation. But and being the great grandparent of a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, and also a 1 and a 2-year-old. But anyway, I know the perspective of trying to find the resources from the family level. That's why I appreciate your pulling together families so they can understand the terrain. This terrain sometimes is somewhat daunting, because when you have a child that young, it's like, okay, where do I send them? What helps them most? We know that the move from pre-K into kindergarten can be rather stressful too. Aligning that curriculum along those lines of what is expected, the can-dos, you know, are we, and I'm seeing where we're standing with the state. Okay, I'm seeing where we're standing. We're making good progress. There's two questions that come out of that. One, it has to deal with the demographic profile of the young people that, we have, what did you say, 500 seats? What was that? I can't remember the exact
It's
number.
500 in the community providers.
500 in the community providers. Okay. And sometimes that seems like two different groups. You have your community providers, you have the BCPS provider directly, you have your Judy Center directly. Okay. And the communication lines between them and to the parents, how is that being facilitated even more so? Because even after this third grade, this 3-year-old, I'm sorry, I said third grade, but 3-year-old level, there are parents that are going like, where do they turn? Well, I have them turn geographically. Okay, what's near? What can I, is there a way that we're doing to level that playing ground? The other aspect was demographic, as far as our new scholars that are coming in that are from immigrant communities, and I have a third question. I'm just going to throw it in right now. It's the special education aspect of it. In determining the needs of our scholars, how does that equate going from our community partners to our profile that the state mandates to? How does that translate going back and forth? We've got a lot of partners and we need those partners, but are we having a full circle of communication that families can tap into? Because like I said, it's still, my granddaughter just called me the other night. Where do I send her? What do I do? What's the best one? And how in the world do we make those? We have so many providers. How do we make those differentiations? And what kind of outline do we give to parents to make those type of distinctions? That's what I would like to, and those are 3 questions. That's basically from my old granddaddy.
Well, we appreciate our grandparents too, and great grandparents. I'll start with questions 1 and 2, and then I'll pass it over to Dr. Brad to answer the question around our students with special needs. So the first thing is, it's really about letting folks know what the options are. I've been doing this work for a very long time, and I think everyone knows that we have full day pre-K, but everyone does not know that. And so it really is incumbent upon all of us to keep making sure that people know what the options are. With the mayor's office recently, they've really kind of dove into early childhood, childcare, all of these things. They actually now have a citywide STAT meeting where there are lots of other partners who are coming together, and they're really trying to start thinking about how do we do these things citywide. Because I think kind of, for a long time, we were all working trying to do the same thing, but we weren't all working together. So this is really about bringing all of the partners together. And again, thinking about this as a Baltimore city, not just a city schools thing that we want to make sure that we are finding solutions for. So at that table, there are lots of different providers, but that's really one of the avenues. I will also venture to say that the time to start talking to parents about pre-K is when a child is 2 years old, not when they are 3 or when they are 4, because we also want to make sure that families are thinking about this as an option. And again, we are very lucky and very blessed here in Baltimore to have so many full day and free options. I am the auntie of a 5-year-old who was not able to get into pre-K because his parents made too much money and they only had half-day pre-K where he was. So that's not what our experience is here. So I always just want to make sure that families know. And what we've also learned is that sometimes families think that they may make too much money, or they kind of fall in that, in between range of they're not very low income, but they've got a good job, but childcare is very expensive. So also just really want families to kind of explore what their options are. Again, as I said, this year we kind of have our one kind of landing page. We have the centralized and coordinated enrollment system, but it really is, we really want as many of our partners as possible to really kind of try to feed into this one place and really letting families know what the options are. And again, the earlier, the better. So you now start talking to your 1 and 2-year-old about what is your neighborhood school, what's your zone school, start looking into that, and then start looking for those signs when it comes time to enroll. The second question around the graphics of our students, we have seen a little bit of a dip in our students who are coming, our immigrant families. Obviously, just there are lots of extenuating circumstances that they are experiencing right now. So we have seen a bit of a dip in those numbers. But I'm always very encouraged when I look at the work of our Judy centers. They are continuing to go and find families. So many of our families did not feel comfortable coming into schools and coming into our settings. And so our Judy centers are going and they are going to the homes and they're finding those families and they're finding them. So, in early childhood, it's really important for us that we are not just always thinking about the kids, but we're also thinking about parents and families, because when our parents and families are whole, then our kids can be whole. So we are doing the best we can to make sure that we're finding them and connecting them. We work really closely with our partners in MESC, who do a wonderful job of providing lots of services to our families who are new to the country. And so they will kind of come down and run down and let us know, like, we've got a new kiddo, can someone get on the phone with them? So we're really in constant communication with them so that we're making sure that we're doing the best thing for our families. And then I will pass it over to Dr. Brad to answer the question about our students coming in with differing needs.
Yeah, so of course, the best way to help support students that come in with special needs is to identify them very, very early on, right? So one of our most significant sources of identification of those students is working hand in hand with the lead agency, Baltimore Infants and Toddlers Program. And we have a great relationship right now. The director, the newer director of BITP, and I came on to our respective roles at about the same time. And so we were able to start to forge a collegial relationship together that has really helped both agencies. So they have really helped kind of trailblaze for us, reaching out to some of those community partners, particularly community partners of immigrant communities. We have a really great collaborative relationship right now with the Baltimore Medical System at Yard 56, which is through Hopkins Bayview at campus. And so when families come into that clinic to help get their medical needs taken care of, that agency is very quick to send us kids that are more closer to school age or that are in need of some infants and toddler services. And so we're forging those relationships. It's really given the current landscape and given just even without any additional stresses, the preferred method of communication for a lot of our families that are newcomers to this country is through, referrals from trusted sources, trusted partners, and grassroots communication. And so getting in with clinics where people feel safe and secure, getting in with those community partners is really important for us to make sure that we're reaching out and identifying those students from immigrant communities early on in their journey. And so I think that we have really made some great strides in that area this year, and hopefully, more to come. Does that answer your question about specialized needs?
That's pretty much right on target. And thank you for all the hard work. I see that this is, people flock into K through 12 because they know it's, something they need to do. But people don't understand the need of securing that launching ramp. And so you are doing a good job of that. And I would like to see a strengthening of that communications line, because it is like you're going out, you're going like, where can I find it? Where can I find it? And then we need more of, where can they find us? And I think that becomes strong. And so thank you very much. I appreciate your work.
Okay, I think we have Commissioner Chicas Guzman has a question. I believe she was having technical difficulty earlier. Commissioner, are you available?
Yeah, I'm able to ask now. Hi, everyone. I wanted to say thank you so much for your dedication to our early learning, and I want to get straight to the point. Earlier in the presentation, KRA data was mentioned, and I'm curious about how we're going to, I guess, measure our early learning improvements that we're making as our students are reaching elementary and middle school. Just
So I will jump in and then I'll let Dr. Anderson finish. I think those are great questions. The assessment was new for us this year, so we really needed to, very much understand it and learn it. And we are the curriculum that we are using, we chose because we saw such great alignment between pre-K and kindergarten. And so when we think about what is our charge in pre-K, it really is that we want to make sure that when students leave our classrooms, that when they are walking into kindergarten for the first time, that they are ready. And ready means a lot of different things. It's not just, ready in knowing letters or numbers, but it's also in their ability to follow rules and like all of that stuff. Because once we find that students who are able to listen and sit and do all of these things are actually more ready, sorry for lack of a better term, to experience learning. So we are looking at and kind of measuring all of those things. We do want to continue to focus on just high quality implementation of that curriculum as we're thinking about the coming years. We find that when teachers are following along, when they are using their data and making those sorts of analysis real time in the classroom, that's where we're really getting the most bang for our buck. But I'll turn it over to Dr. Anderson.
That's exactly right. And also what we're doing is we won't have a baseline. Of course, this was the baseline. So next year we'll have more information. But also what we're doing is strengthening the alignment between pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, the standards, so that we're able to better support the teachers and implementing strategies to support all of our learners. We also plan for small group instruction using data from the classrooms, and so we use data, and we do whole group and small group instruction and meet the teachers where they are in order to support all of the students.
okay, thank you. And you answered my follow-up question. So I'll just get to my other one. I wanted to ask, since we're focusing on reducing screen time and building our hands-on learning, I was just wondering, do we have any specific ideas on supporting our instructors? Like, are we giving them toolkits by any chance? Is it through our new curriculums? Yeah.
Love that question. You are in our leadership team meeting. So we have a systemic professional learning that's coming up on May 1st. And so we will be really kind of rolling out this, kind of reduction, no screen time to our teachers. And we're actually doing it in a screen-free PD for them. So we're going to make, zillion copies, and we're going to use markers and all of that, but we really want to take our teachers back to basics. I know it's crazy, right? But we really do want to make sure that we're taking our teachers back to basics. In the pandemic, so much of our teaching, all of our teaching was online. When our teachers came back from the pandemic, we just started seeing this heavy reliance and heavy use of screens. But if we think about, pre-K and what pre-K was when I was in pre-K, there a screen wasn't even invented. And, I think I did pretty well for myself. So we really want to make sure that we're trying to figure out how we can get back to that for our students. But we know that we also have to really support our teachers and what that looks like. So that's actually one of the topics that we're talking about with them on May 1st at that systemic PL. And that will definitely be a theme that we're carrying through our professional learning for them for next year.
Can I say something also? And so we are, for some of us, it's a pivot back to where we were. For some teachers, it's going to be new behavior. So what we're focusing on is supporting the teachers by giving them replacement behaviors instead of, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Instead of this is what we look for. So I think, just strengthening all of the strategies that they need, giving it to them as replacement behaviors, we think is going to be key.
Wow. Thank you guys so much for answering. That was an amazing detailed question, and I can't wait to hear about it after May 1st.
We're going to see how they go. Hopefully, they don't throw tomatoes at us.
Never. Alrighty, and we are blessed to have Commissioner Larry Simmons with us today, and he is on with a question he'd like to ask. Welcome, Commissioner Simmons.
Good afternoon, and thank you. My apologies for my tardiness. I had a previous meeting, but and I came in kind of towards the end of the presentation. But as a former preschool teacher, I really am excited about what I did here. I just had a really, really quick question, and you might have answered it, and I missed it. And so I apologize if I have you rehashing. But when we talked about those community partners, it took me to kind of think about, those preschools, right? Like a Bolton Hill Nursery or those kind of places that will have that relationship and will have that. But I began to think about those licensed family childcare places, right? Like Miss Shirley's or, those things, those, you know what I'm saying? And home centers, right? That may have 10 kids at the max. What is that outreach, or how are you guys connecting with those folks as well, who may not be in the network of those larger childcare centers?
That's a great question. So one of the ways that we do that is through our Judy centers. One of their charges is to support our community-based childcare centers. MSDE a few years ago did put some restrictions on who it was that those Judy centers could support. So they can technically now only support folks who are accredited or a level 3, 4, and 5 in Excels, which is actually very limiting in who the Judy centers can technically support. Now, we here in Baltimore City, we always want to make sure that we are doing what is right and good for our community members. So we try to find those partners as best we can. They are also a little harder to find because they're not quite as organized. Like Head Start has an organizing body, so where all the classrooms are, right? The childcare is way more decentralized. They're small businesses, so it's a bit harder to find them. However, there is the Baltimore City Childcare Resource Center, who many of them are connected there. So we will partner with them as kind of an offshoot to make sure that we are connecting with them as well. So it's definitely an area as mixed delivery continues to grow. It's an area that will continue to grow as we are thinking about what enrollment looks like. Again, trying to prioritize 4-year-olds coming to city schools, prioritizing 3-year-olds and younger students going to some of our community providers. I think if we do this well and this in our best possible imagination, we would have this really wonderful way in which a child can go from Miss Shirley's daycare when they're 2 years old to a Head Start when they're 3 to city schools when they're 4, and then they're able to knock it out the park when they get to kindergarten.
I know that there's an organization that just recently, maybe in the last couple of years, was Parent and Child Plus, that's working with those small home-based daycare centers. And I'm just hoping that, with the 500 seats, that everybody has a shot to those seats, right? Not just the folks who, just kind of connected through their systems, right? So that we're not forgetting those folks who, are picking up, dropping off families of children. And I do appreciate another part that you just mentioned that I wasn't thinking about, but also the opportunity in that space for families to understand that there's an inroad through Head Start, and that there's an inroad through some of the larger systems. Because sometimes it's like, I think Commissioner Kenyatta Bay mentioned, sometimes it's just of convenience, right? Like I can't get all over the city and having 4 kids in the 4 different places, but I know that Miss Shirley has them because she picked up my big kids after school, and she take care of my little guys, right? You guys understand what I'm saying? And I just want to make sure that that they also have a shot with those seats. And I'll also add this piece, like, as a new uncle, I think that my sister my nephew is 1, but she's already thinking about childcare, right? I was in at a conference, and there were some folks from Jersey, and they talked about how they began the conversation with families at inception around childcare, right? So just, I'm glad you guys are thinking.
Yes. Yeah, no, I
Appreciate
think all those things that you're talking about are exactly where we are. And again, I do again just want to continue to shout out like the mayor's office, because they are really digging into this work with us. And I'm a big idea is like, hey, can we do this thing? My team will tell you. And then they're like, please, Crystal, let's not do that. But being able to have, kind of all of the resources within the city of how can we get more of our kids involved in childcare and Head Start and pre-K. So, all I need, I got a million ideas. We just need to be able to funnel it and get it done. So, but we're really excited about the momentum that we have going right now.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we've exhausted you all with questions. And my fellow commissioners have covered quite a lot of ground. So I'll reserve mine. Oh, Kenyatta Bay, is that a new hand or an old hand?
It's a new hand, and the reason why it is up is there's one little thing that struck me, and the profile of what the reduction of screen time means. Because I mean, the technology is not disappearing. It's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like, no, Mr. Gutenberg, we don't need that. But but the thing is that how are we implementing this technological advancement into the thought processing of our young scholars? When they're coming in, they're coming in a world that's technologically kind of like inundated. Now we're going to scale back and especially as a teacher, I know you can become so dependent on the technology that you forget how to teach. It happens, believe me. And but the thing is for the young scholars to access the technology is going to allow them to grow into that kindergarten, K through 12 environment. So how are we maintaining for them that technological connection? And that's it. I'm sorry. I just want, you may not even answer that right now, but I think that's something that looms in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, we will never be able to get rid of iPads, iPhones, like, we are not quite in that place. But we at least want to commit to that when your child is with us in City Schools Pre-K for that 6.5 hours, that they are not going to be getting or experiencing what they are experiencing sometimes when they're at home for that 6.5 hours. So that's really kind of how we are approaching this about what we want to see within our classrooms, and also really trying to just start broaching the conversation very delicately with our families around how they too can help and support some of these replacement behaviors as well. Because we've got some kiddos who are, when they're at home, spending so many hours on devices you know, we are early childhood educators and we are just thinking about their brains and projecting where we see them down the line. So we just think it's really critical that we intervene. But if nothing else, we know that when you come into our pre-K classroom, that like that's not what you're going to experience. I'm not quite sure what you're going to have before you come to school or after, but while you're here, this is the experience that you're going to have.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Crystal, because a part of this is around brain development too. As we get older, our brains are more fun. I cannot talk today. Our brains are more formed, then we can navigate in technology better, and we have resilience. So we're not losing actual anything when we're trying to form it. And so I think in some ways, technology can stunt brain development, and when there's plenty of time to catch up with technology for students once they have the foundation. Great conversation. Thank you so much. We've officially had you talking for about an hour, so we're going to let you all.
Sorry to whoever's next.
We'll let you off the hook for now. Appreciate such a great presentation and update on where we are. I look forward to getting more outcomes around our early childhood and what you're learning as the new KRA data comes back, and then how it's informing your planning moving forward. I'm also very interested in how we're managing the increase in special needs and able to respond to that with ever diminishing resources in some areas, but not all. So I'm interested in how we're moving that forward. So I'll look for that in coming presentations. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. I will move us right along to our procurement agenda. Today we have two items. One is the Fund for Educational Excellence, Alvin Ailey Camp, and Arts for Learning. Do I have anyone on the line?
Yes, Shabray Matthews, Director of Procurement,
Hey,
is
Shabray,
here. Hello.
here.
Hello. Good afternoon, City Schools family. So yes, as you stated, we have two procurement items for consideration. The first is 12.1, the Fund for Educational Excellence, Ailey Camp, Baltimore contract extension. The Chief Academic Officer requests the board's approval to extend the contract term for Ailey Camp Baltimore through its fiscal sponsor, the Fund for Educational Excellence, to continue the arts-based summer camp program. The board is requested to approve a contract extension through August 31st, 2026. The estimated total contract amount is $2,250,000.
Shabray, so the $2,250,000, that represents the amount that would have been paid out of the life of the contract, right?
Correct.
Or is that that's not just this year, right? So what are we looking?
Yes. Let's see. First board action, initial contract award was 2.2 contract term. And then it was extended via a no cost extension. Yeah, so this is just for the extension. We're not, they're not asking for any additional capacity, contract capacity in terms of funding.
Got it. Great. And I will be asking questions on behalf of myself and Commissioner Scott Woodruff. I'll get into those now and then open it up for others. Is there anyone from the CAO's office on to talk about this?
Good afternoon. Brooke Korsh, Coordinator of Academic Operations, and I also have Dr. Lorinda Resta with me from Extended Learning.
Perfection. Thank you so much. The first question is, how are students selected to participate, and how do we ensure equitable access across all schools?
Well, I'm going to pass it over to Lauren.
So for our summer programs, all of our SALA programs are open to our Title I students. And so that is done via the parent portal on Infinite Campus. So parents are actually able to register their children as they would see if they feel that it is the program that is most convenient for them. And ALI, it is conducted the same way in alignment with the ALI National Dance Standards configurations, where they do have to engage in a specific dance routine as a audition, and then they are accepted into the program for those for ALI Dance Camp.
Great. For this one as well, for both questions, I'm going to ask how are students selected? Could you put that in writing? I want to make sure Commissioner Scott Woodruff gets that response. And this one will also require a follow-up. I don't mind repeating them, if that's helpful. So the two
You asked how are students selected to participate and how do we ensure equitable access?
Correct. Very good.
Yep, thank you.
The second one is, as a follow-up item, this is from Scott Woodruff. Could staff share the approximate per student cost of the program and how that compares with other summer learning programs?
So I think that's something we can also put in writing. We can give you the total amounts for the summer. So, for example, ALE is around $174,000 for the summer, but we can go back and do a per pupil allocation as well.
Perfect. Thank you. I want to open it up to any other commissioners for questions on this procurement item. I see Commissioner Simmons, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. How many summers have we been doing this? Is this like our third or fourth? How many summers
In
have
general, or
we
with this specific program?
with this specific program?
I think it started in 2022, but I'll let the staff respond to
So
that.
I
think
cannot
that's
give an
accurate.
exact date off the top of my head. I do feel that it is.
Because I know that they've existed here for a while, but I just want to know.
Yes.
They've existed for a while. I just want to make sure. Just wanted to find out how long have they been in this capacity with us.
So I would have to, in full transparency, go back and speak with the prior summer director. When I stepped into this role, summer had expanded dramatically after COVID. And so that is, to my knowledge base and my general understanding, once we really brought on the partnership with SALA and ALE. However, I don't want to speak out of term, so I can commit to going back and finding the exact years.
I can share from the procurement item. Under evidence of effectiveness, it says prior to the 2022 award, ALE Dance Camp positively impacted 512 students throughout 8 years of service in Baltimore metropolitan area. So I don't know if that means that they were in Baltimore City schools or in the broader Baltimore.
They've been in the
area.
city.
Yeah.
I think is the question.
I know they
have
been
offering.
Looking for.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess the clarification I think for us is, how long have they been operating and sitting as schools, or how long have they been a preferred summer provider?
How long have they been operating with city schools? I know
it's pre-pandemic, but we can get a more accurate date.
Yes,
Thanks.
and I can check the contract log to see how far we go back in terms of contracting with them.
I appreciate that. I just know that at one point they were looking for funding in other places, and I just need the information. Thanks.
Yeah, I believe that they were under another fiscal sponsor at one point.
Yeah.
They've been on, yes, they have. They were under Hopkins, and then I think someone else before that.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? I believe I saw Kenyatta Bay.
Yes, real quick question. How many seats are there available for this program, and how are we sourcing it? And that's basically, yeah, I mean, because that speaks to equity. Are we getting application or participation from a citywide basis, or are we kind of located within a certain areas? And that's one thing. And the other, like I said, the other question was how many seats are they accommodating through this program?
So Ailey for the upcoming summer is slated for 100 seats. For Sala across 10 sites, we roughly have 3,500 seats for our general education students. As far as how it is being marketed and demonstrated out, it is posted on our district website, our summer programming website. It has also been, that website has been shared with all family via social media for additional marketing purposes and to promote stakeholder and parental awareness. Flyers have been printed and placed throughout assorted district offices, as well as communicated out to schools. So that way the schools themselves are knowledgeable about each individual program and that they are able to promote those to families via other and manual via flyers or in person, such as Klaus Dojo outreach to parents.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding Ailey?
No questions here.
Great, thank you.
And I apologize. I was just informed, we have around 1,125 seats for Sala specific for our ESY program as well.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
when you say Sala, are you referring to Arts Every Day?
Yes, apologies.
Summer. We put
Summer.
summer in front of it to
Summer.
make it fancy sounding.
Okay, alrighty. I don't want to confuse between Ailey and the next procurement item. But thank you for that. Alrighty, Shabray, do you want to highlight the next procurement item, which is also summer?
Yes, item 12.2, Arts for Learning Maryland, Inc., contract increase and extension. The Chief Academic Officer requests the board's approval to extend and increase the contract with Arts for Learning Maryland to continue extended learning programming. The current contract term is June 9th, 2021 through June 30th, 2026. The board is requested to approve a contract extension through August 31st, 2026, as well as increase the estimated total contract amount from $41 million to $45 million, an increase of $4 million.
Okay, I want to open up for any commissioners with questions. Okay, Commissioner Scott Woodruff had a question about the multiple funding sources associated, or a number of possible sources. She would like to know, could we get a sense of how spending under this contract has historically been distributed between centrally managed funds, grant funding, and school level purchases? That can come in writing as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide that, Ronnie. I can look that in historical data and provide that.
I have a question about this in particular. When was this originally procured?
This was 2021 through
2021.
PQS solicitation.
Shabray, does this have to go back out for procurement at any point? It looks like we just keep extending the contract term.
Yes, we're actually working on the RF. It's going to switch to an RFP, and it will be out actually this month.
Okay, and that will be for school year and summer programming?
Yeah, extended learning programming. The two requests that we have this evening are for short-term continuity of services pending the formal solicitation.
Okay. I want to make sure I stay plugged in. So could you make a note? I want to see when this comes out. If you could just flag it either for the board office or I don't know, ping me. I just want to stay on top of that particular procurement.
Yes, we will make sure that you get notified.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't see any other questions. Commissioners, one last time. All right. Well, thank you all for presenting these two procurement cases. We'll look for them in the public board meeting.
I thank you.
All right. With that, we do not have any one register for public comment today. So we'll move to our next meeting date, which will be on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. We will hear a total summer update with regard to professional development, summer school, credit recovery, and extended school year. We'll also get a compliance report on public charter schools. And I just would like to remind the public that members of the public who would like to provide comment to this committee can do so by signing up the day of the meeting until the start of the meeting at 3:30 p.m. Please reach out to the board office if you're interested in doing so. And with that, we'll close out the meeting today, and thank you all for your participation. We'll see you on May 12th.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.